What's up everybody, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 in the house, bringing to you another edition of the Flash Season 6 review series, and today I'm going to be talking about Episode 8, which also serves as a follow-up to the last review I did, and that is entitled The Last Temptation of Barry Allen, Part 2. Now, in my last review, I said that Part 1 is considered by me the greatest Flash episode of all time, which I still stand by to this day, and I did say that it would be very, very hard to top Part 1. Now we have Part 2. Now, I will truly be honest, Part 2 was very, very good. I liked it a lot, and I thought it was a very neat way to not only wrap up the Bloodwork saga, but also help set up the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover event. But if I'm truly honest, I thought Part 1 was a lot better. Not hating on Part 2, but I just thought Part 1 was a little bit more stronger and a little bit more emotional. Not saying that this episode didn't have emotion, there was plenty of it to go around, but I just felt that Part 1 was just a little bit better. And, you know, it was very hard. I'm not going to lie. It was really, really hard to decide which was the greatest episode of all time. And as I've said already, Part 1 is still the best. But I did enjoy Part 2. So, with that all said, let's talk about The Last Temptation of Barry Allen, Part 2. Now, Part 2 picks up where we left off at the end of Part 1. At the end of Part 1, we saw Barry Allen fully give in to the dark matter corruption, and he attacked Team Flash and sped off before kneeling down before Bloodwork, which was an awesome way to end Part 1. So we're just picking up where we left off from the end of Part 1, so here goes. So Team Flash are recovering from their injuries at the hands of the corrupted Barry. Cisco immediately activates Babel Protocol. It's quite funny, really. When Cisco said the words Babel, the first immediate thought in my head was the Tower of Babel from the Justice League comics, where Batman developed the Babel program, where he had a file on all the members of the Justice League in the events they would ever turn rogue. So as soon as I heard Cisco say Babel, you know, I got goosebumps. I geeked out, so to speak. So it's nice to hear Babel is getting thrown around quite a bit. I don't know if this was the first time Babel has been mentioned, or at least that word anyway, or the name, but if it was the first time this is mentioned, great. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I thought it was a big deal to me. So this program Cisco activates, the Babel Protocol. It is to stop Barry Allen from getting into Star Labs. Like I say, every hero has to be prepared. Ask Batman, he'll tell you. So Cisco is trying to come up with a plan to stop Barry and Ramsey, but it would involve firing them with radiation. See, radiation. What is it with radiation? You know, it always seems to be a recurring theme in these sort of shows. But let's move swiftly on. Barry and Ramsey confront Joe West and Killer Frost, and then tell the zombies to kill them. So you can clearly see that Barry is being controlled by Bloodwork. So I like it, you know, it's interesting. I don't think many episodes, to my knowledge, I mean, I might have to go back I don't think we've had a full episode where Barry was evil or corrupted, which way you ever want to put it. There might have been maybe one episode, I think, back in season 1, I believe. I can't remember which one it was, but I seem to recall Barry went a bit mad, and I think he tried to attack Eddie Thorne, I believe. I can't remember. I might have to go back and check that out. But if that's not the case, then this is probably historically the first time we've had an all evil Flash episode. If I'm wrong, please do tell me, but I will go back and double check that. So anyway, we move on. Barry later sends a message asking Iris to meet up with him, and she says to Cisco that Barry wants to see me, I'm going to go and meet with him. Cisco very rightly says, look, that's not our Barry, that's not your Barry, it could be dangerous. And Iris of course says, look, if there's any hope of getting our Barry back, it's worth the risk. Give me the breach and I'm going to go and meet with him. I have to say, I know people have had issues with the way Iris has been written, but I really thought, Iris was better written this season. I know she got some flack, poor old Candice Patton, for We Are the Flash, but I absolutely adore Candice Patton. Aside from being very attractive, she's a very good actress, and I thought she was really well written in this episode. In fact, this entire season so far, she's really coming to her own, and I know I think there was like maybe last season or season 4, I believe. Yeah, she was very up and down, but she's a lot better in this one. So Iris, against Cisco's wishes, agrees to meet with Barry Allen. She teleports to their apartment and finds Barry there, or really Ramsey, controlling Barry. So Bloodwork speaks through Barry's body. This is quite a good scene. This was really, really good and very, very scary. And I have to say, for this side of the season, they've really embraced the horror aspects, so to speak. So it was really good they continue with that trend. So I liked it here. So Ramsey, through Barry, tries to convince Iris to join their side, and of course she refuses. Smart lady. She tries to get through to Barry, but he threatens to kill her instead. So we see Barry, through Ramsey, do the classic Reverse Flash vibrating hand. I love it when Reverse Flash does it, because it's his trademark, but when Barry does it, it's quite shocking because, Barry's such a clean-cut guy, he's all about doing the right thing, but because he's corrupted, and you see him about to take out Iris, you're sitting there thinking, please Barry, if there's anything left of you, don't do it, just don't do it, and he doesn't, thank God for that. So, Barry, through Ramsey, says, not now, but soon, I will kill you. Spooky. So Iris quickly teleports back to Star Labs, but wants to try and get through to Barry again. Cisco realises that beating Bloodwork is exactly what Barry was preparing them for, because he's too far gone to help them. Ah, clever. Very, very clever. Meanwhile, Joe and Frost fight off the zombies in the park. I like the way that they don't just embrace the horror aspects. It's almost like an homage to Resident Evil with the T-Virus. You're seeing all the members of the Resistance team taking out all the infected, blasting them left, right and centre. So, yeah, I was really digging this a lot. Just Killer Frost kicking ass and Joe West shooting everyone in sight. It's definitely Resident Evil coming into the Flash. So, yeah, I love that a lot. So, while they're fighting off everyone in the park, Joe gets bitten. Oh no. Anyone who knows Resident Evil knows what happens when an infected bites you. It never ends well. So anyway, Allegra arrives and helps them teleport Joe back to safety. Whew, thank God for that. Cisco teleports to Ramsey and fires the radiation at him, but is suddenly stopped by Barry. Ramsey decides that Cisco will serve another purpose. He is going to set off the particle accelerator again with Ramsey's virus. So, this is Ramsey's plan. Just like we saw back in Season 1 of The Flash, he wants the particle accelerator to be switched on again with the virus, so when it blows up, everybody will be infected with his virus. Tell you what, that's a hell of a plan. You know, instead of just saying, I will kill you all, why not just wipe you out with the particle accelerator with dark matter? Very, very shrewd. They then realise that Barry had already hacked the particle accelerator for Ramsey's plan. So it looks like to me Barry had been preparing for this in the events he could be corrupted, so it's good to see that. Meanwhile, Allegra and Frost bring Joe back to Star Labs and begin operating on him. Caitlin helps Frost get over her panic about operating on people, and she is able to help Joe. So now, remember back in part 1, Killer Frost suffered a panic attack because of, I think because of what's going to happen to her in the crisis. So she was a little bit freaked out. So it was nice to see that she got over that and was able to do the job that needed to be done. So that was really good to see that. Also, Cisco and Iris try to figure out their next move and realise that everybody should have worked together on a plan to save Barry. They then realise that Barry is trying to send them a message through the corruption just as Ramsey and Barry arrive. So even though Barry has been corrupted, in some ways he is still trying to help the others. So even though he's being controlled, he's still aware of everything that's going on, but he's not able to stop himself, because if he had been truly corrupted, he would have killed Iris on the spot. Well, we all know that's not going to really happen. So Barry tells Iris and Cisco to let the light in, and they agree to lower the defense of Star Labs. Ramsey, Barry, and a whole horde of zombies arrive and begin to infiltrate Star Labs. Cisco tells Allegra to provide the antidote to the zombies in a form of a massive UV blast, so she uses every bit of her power and just blasts them all with the antidote. So it was really good to see Allegra had kind of a big role in this episode, and we actually got to see her use her power to her fullest, so it was really good to see that being showcased here. Ramsey and Barry go into the particle accelerator, and Ramsey orders Barry to choke Iris as Ramsey's blood infects the technology. Iris and Ramsey struggle for control of Barry, culminating in Iris shooting Ramsey down with a blast. Allegra arrives and shoots the particle accelerator with UV light, and the blast turns everybody back to normal. So it was good to see that the particle accelerator was actually used for good this time rather than bad. So that was a lot of fun to see that. Barry wakes up back to his old self and chases after Ramsey, and Ramsey turns into a giant blood monster. Now, when he changed into his bloodwork form, I couldn't help but think of Venom / Carnage from the Spider-Man comics. It's what he kind of reminded me of, and I have to say, he looked downright scary, if you ask me. Here is a shot of bloodwork right here. Good God. I have to say, that looks really, really scary. In fact, I probably think it looks a little bit more scary than Nemesis from Resident Evil 2. I mean, this just looked downright frightening. It's almost like, imagine if Venom and Carnage fused into one with Spider-Man, and you'd get something like this. This is what it looked like, and it's just really, really scary. And I have to say, I'm very, very impressed with the effects for the Arrowverse shows, especially with The Flash. You know, they've really gone to town on this, and they've really made bloodwork really, really scary. And as I said in the last video that I did, Bloodwork is probably one of the most well developed villains that I've seen on the show in quite some time. You know, we didn't just see him show up and he's already Bloodwork. We've actually got to see a bit of a story arc and a bit of a build up, and they really paid it off nicely by showing us his final form. So this was a lot of fun, and yuck, this is scary crap. But mega props to the guys, very very well done, and this was awesome to see. We then see Ramsey in his Bloodwork form and Barry go at it, and then he sees a projection of his dead mother through Barry that he's put in his mind, and she tells him that he's gone astray and offers to save him. Barry uses this as a distraction to Ramsey and brings him into the Mac chamber, trapping him inside and eventually having him transported to Argos custody. I have to say, I thought this was a very clever way for Barry. Rather than using his speed to defeat his opponents, he actually used his head more. So it was really good to see that. And, you know, there's more to Barry than just being the fastest man alive. We actually got to see that he's not only the fastest man alive, but he's also the smartest man alive. So it's really good to see that. So after he's transported away, Frost thanks Caitlin for helping her, and she tells her that she's the one who needs to be around when the crisis happens. So we see Team Flash waiting for the crisis to begin. Barry offers to give Joe his watch, but Joe tells him he's not going anywhere. So the team tells Barry how much he means to them. Iris tells Barry that their love story isn't even ending, regardless of what happens, and Barry implies that idea to how Team Flash feels about each other. So this was kind of a really nice scene to see. And you know, I've said many times before, Team Arrow is more of a team. Not saying they don't care about each other, but they're more of a team. Team Flash, you can clearly see they're more of a family, and it was really nice we got to see that here. So this was a lot of fun to see that. And the last shot we see is the clock strikes midnight and the skies begin to turn red, ready for the crisis to begin. And also, in this episode, we see Nash officially turn into Pariah, so we are getting ready for crisis to begin. During the blackout, we see Nash Wells in the underground tunnel again, and he begins to speak to the voice of the Monitor, and the Monitor proclaims that he will give him the knowledge he desires if he wishes. So we also got to see that Nash got attacked by several of the Bloodwork zombies, but he was able to hold his own, and this all happened before he became Pariah. We also got to see Camilla and Cecile hold their own during a situation, so they got to kick a lot of ass as well, so that was a lot of fun. So overall, very good episode. As I said already, not as good as part 1, although I did enjoy this a lot. It's very very tough for me, but I'm still sticking with my guns. Part 1 was much more stronger and had a lot more meat on it, so to speak. So with that all said, I'm going to leave this here for you guys. The next time I will be back, I am going to be reviewing all of the Crisis crossover, as I've mentioned in my Batwoman and Arrow reviews, so keep your eyes out for that. So what did you think of episode 8? Do you think it was good, or did you think episode 1 was better? Leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see you all next time. So till then, take care everybody.